Imagine a sports car so light you could literally pick up the back end and swivel it like a bar stool. That's not a joke. It's the Kleinschnittger F-125, the German Roadster that proved you didn't need horsepower to have headlines. Built from war surplus pots, pans, and pure stubbornness, this pint-sized machine somehow became an export success. And today, it's one of the rarest microcars on the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, clear your calendars, hide your espresso machines, and prepare to squint, because today we're talking about a car so small it could park inside a smart car's glove box. A car so light, a decent sneeze might blow it into the next postal code. No, it's not a prank. This little legend actually existed, and it ran on two things: gasoline and audacity. Say hello to the Kleinschnittger F-125, the aluminium roadster that made fun-sized look like a lifestyle. Smash that subscribe button for more insane vehicles, because where else are you going to hear about a car you can reverse by picking it up like a wheelbarrow? Now let's zip back to post-war Germany, where ambition and aluminium met in a bombed-out town called Arnsberg. The mastermind behind the F-125 was engineer Paul Kleinschnittger, a man with big dreams and, apparently, a workshop full of scavenged airplane parts. Before World War II, he was already toying with the idea of a microcar for the masses. After the war, while others were rebuilding cities, Paul was bending army mess kits into fenders. In 1949, he finished a prototype with one headlight smack in the middle of the nose, a car so cyclopean it looked like it was auditioning for a science fiction B-movie. It had aircraft glass for a windshield and design aesthetic somewhere between cartoon and lawn ornament. The local press nicknamed it the Volkswagen aus dem Sauerland, essentially a people's car from the mountains with half the metal and twice the charm. By 1950, with financial backing from a Hamburg merchant, Walter Lemke, Kleinschnittger set up a small-scale factory. And by factory, I mean a building where employees started their day by shoveling dirt out of bomb craters. But by April that year, they were pumping out up to 50 cars a month, each one a tiny two-seat roadster. Press attention came swiftly. A French magazine ran a feature in 1951. Publicity stunts followed, including the image of Kleinschnittger towing 15 F-125s in a train down the street, probably setting a world record for most people pointing and laughing while also reaching for their checkbooks. Production continued until 1957. Depending on which historian or slightly drunk German uncle you ask, total output was either 1,992 or close 2,980 units. That ambiguity fits the car's mythos perfectly. What is known is that a few dozen examples survive today, mostly tucked away in museums like Germany's Autotechnik Museum Sinsheim, or in lovingly curated microcar collections in the United States, such as the White Collection. Let's talk tech. The F-125 was what you might call delightfully primitive. Under the hood, or rather under the slightly curved aluminium flap pretending to be a hood, you'd find a 123 to 125 cubic centimeter single-cylinder two-stroke ILO engine. It made around 5.5 to 6 horsepower, which is roughly the output of a determined hairdryer, but somehow it got the car up to 70 kilometers per hour, or about 44 miles per hour. If the wind was behind you and your passenger skipped breakfast. That little engine drove the front wheels through a 3-speed manual transmission, which was the height of engineering simplicity. There was no reverse gear. If you wanted to back up, you just got out, lifted the rear end, and pivoted the car like you were rearranging patio furniture. Drivers developed surprisingly strong biceps. Fuel economy was absurd, in the good way. Reports list consumption at 2.5 to 3 liters per 100 kilometers, which is about 80 to 94 miles per gallon. That's not just efficient, that's laughs in the face of oil prices efficient. The F-125 didn't just sip fuel, it barely registered on a scale. Depending on trim and optional straw-filled seats, yes, straw, it weighed between 135 and 150 kilograms. That's 298 to 330 pounds. You could tow it with a Labrador. The entire body was crafted from hand-formed aluminium, riveted onto a tubular skeleton frame. There were no actual doors, just low cutaway sides you could step over, assuming you didn't skip leg day. Suspension? Each wheel had its own independent rubber band spring setup. No, that's not a metaphor. It was literally rubber cords, patented by Kleinschnittger himself. When they wore out, you could replace them with spares in minutes. It rolled on skinny 20 by 2.25 tires. 4 tiny drums were mechanically actuated by cables, keeping hydraulics and headaches out of the picture. It was basically a mechanical watch you could sit in. Size-wise, this car made a Vespa look chunky. It measured just 2.64 meters long and 1.14 meters wide. That's 8 feet 8 inches by 3 feet 9 inches. The wheelbase was 1.70 meters, or about 5 feet 7 inches. Kleinschnittger eliminated every non-essential component. Standard start was an underdash rope pull with no battery, but an electric starter and battery were a 200 Deutsche Mark option. Fenders were shaped over literal army cooking pots to get the compound curves. Honestly, this man deserves a medal for turning military leftovers into mobile whimsy. The car's simplicity made it cheap, cheerful, and incredibly easy to fix. While some surviving examples feature shiny chrome and fresh white paint, those were usually aftermarket upgrades. Early F-125s were bare bones, sometimes literally. And that's the brilliance of it. The F-125 wasn't trying to be glamorous. It was a war-scarred country's answer to how do we move people without making them cry at the gas pump. It was weird, wonderful, and way ahead of its time in the less is more department. There's something genuinely wholesome about its proportions. The cockpit barely fit 2 adults, more like 1.5, but the sense of fun was enormous. Driving an F-125 wasn't about carving corners or making a statement. It was about embracing the absurd, waving to pedestrians, and hoping it didn't rain. And let's not forget, this was Germany in the early 1950s. The economy was rebuilding. Materials were rationed. The average family could barely afford socks, let alone sedans. The F-125 was an affordable, maintainable, and delightfully silly solution to serious problems. It didn't just transport people, it gave them a reason to smile while doing 30 kilometers per hour, uphill. When new in 1950, the F-125 cost about 2,300 Deutsche Marks. In today's terms, that's roughly 5,000 to 7,000 euros. A bargain, even then. For comparison, a Lloyd 400 cost nearly twice as much, which explains why some F-125 buyers looked like they were sitting inside a shoebox but still had money left over for schnitzel. Fast forward a few decades, and things changed. That same Kleinschnittger, once sold for the price of a nice radio, is now a rare collector's item. In 2013, a pristine 1955 F-125 sold at RM Sotheby's for a whopping $48,300. That's more than a new Mercedes A-Class for a car that doesn't have a reverse gear. Most clean F-125s today command mid-five-figure prices in dollars. It's still not Bugatti money, but considering this car once used army cookware as body panels, it's a glow-up worthy of its own Netflix documentary. And the stories? Oh, they're priceless. In one 1953 rally from Madrid to Lisbon, Kleinschnittger himself drove a Kleinschnittger F-125, finished second in class behind a Porsche 356. That same year, a Nuremberg dealer brochure proudly declared it the smallest car for work, sport, and travel, which sounds like a modest claim until you realize it's also basically true. Some say a final F-125 was cobbled together as late as 1961. Assembled from leftover parts and probably a healthy dose of stubbornness. Others recall seeing them in parades, microcar meets, or even in television commercials. One even starred in a Cadillac Super Bowl advertisement, where it bravely parked next to a hulking pickup like a duckling posing next to a dinosaur. And let's be honest, in a world full of bloated crossovers and angry traffic, wouldn't it be nice to commute in something that weighs less than your Aunt Helga's Schnauzer and turns more heads than a Ferrari? Okay, maybe not more heads, but certainly more chuckles. Before we remember, whether you're driving a Bentley or a bicycle, the best ride is the one that makes you grin like a lunatic. The F-125 didn't just get you from A to B, it made you laugh all the way there. Stay curious, stay weird, and for the love of aluminium, always pack a poncho. You never know when your roof might just be a sunshade.